All right, I will call the Hoyt Lakes City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 10th to order. Roll call, please.
Councilors Grams.
Here.
Jarvila.
Here.
Ekman.
Here.
Matheson is absent tonight. Mayor Scott.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, moving along. The consent agenda, has everybody had a chance to read through that? Any questions or comments? Hearing nothing, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion from Councillor Jarvila. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councillor Ekman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving along to the Guests and Citizens Forum, we have Sarah from Bolton and Mink to go over the public engagement plan review. So yeah, whenever you're ready, we have our podium up there. So yeah, Frida.
And it's 5.1 in your packet if you, looks like everybody has
Does
it.
everybody have the plan in their packet?
They do.
Well, good evening, everyone. You guys know me. This is Sarah Swedberg. So she's with our planning group, and she came up here to kind of provide some context and walk through the public engagement plan. And as you may recall, a few meetings back, we did talk about how Bolton and Mink was pulling together an engagement plan to ultimately provide some emphasis for seeking funding, but also for having conversation in the local community on what the project is and some of the strengths of what we're looking to do, and also provide some breakouts of the different media packages along with publications that can be pulled together. So tonight, kind of what we'd like to do is just have some dialogue. Sarah's going to present on the plan, and so feel free to review that plan, and we'd be looking for some feedback on which aspects of the plan you guys prefer to proceed with, and we'd be looking just to kind of move this forward over the next 6 months then.
Mayor, members of the council, again, thanks for having me tonight. As Jake mentioned, in front of you is the public engagement plan that we've put together as a draft for feedback in relation to the East Range Water Board Hoyt Lakes integration. The document's several pages long. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going in detail page by page. I think the big thing I want you to know is that there's details in there. We start with some project overview, some kind of goals in relation to what do we want this public engagement to do for us. As we were putting this plan together, I like to think of some of these first pages as really our kind of showing our work, as if we were doing like a math problem, right? To show you that, you know, we're thinking about the community's demographics, we're thinking about who are our key stakeholders as we're putting this engagement plan together. So all of those details are there for you. Primarily, I'm looking at like page 2 and 3. At the bottom of page 3, we start to get into some of those engagement strategies. Moving on to page 4 as well. These are more details, right? If you want to look back and remember what some of our conversation was. I'm going to keep moving us through because I want to get to the last page of this for us. And same thing for communication and promotion activities. The thing I want us to actually spend the most time on today is the very last page of the package, which starts on page 11 and is titled Appendix D. This is just a really nice way to look at this plan in summary form. So that's where I want to start us. We would propose that we have what I call a project team. That might just be us and staff having that iterative feedback opportunity to make sure we're always on track, that we're thinking about what we're communicating, we're, engaging together and making sure we're responsive as various needs come up throughout the project. And then we really get into the meat of what this engagement would be. So we want to communicate to funders, to legislators, to our other various stakeholders, and to our residents about the importance of this project and the need for funding. So our first activity is to set up a project website so we can just have that online presence and that base landing page that folks can go back to. We can always store, various documents, various posters and things that we put together, media updates, articles, those kind of things. Really just our landing page, easily integrated with the city's website that we already have, right? It would really be an extension of that. Then we talk about some various communication channels that we'd like to leverage. So we would, throughout the life of this communication plan, we would communicate through some newspaper articles. Those are really easily written in a way that can be shared through lots of different channels, whether that's through an email or the local newspaper. Maybe there's a newsletter that goes out. Lots of different ways that article language can be used, and coupled with some graphics. Again, that can either be emailed out, used on social media, used on that project website, right? Just ways to provide updates throughout the project. We have a couple events built into the calendar of activities. Right now, I'm less married to the frequency and exactly when they're going to happen, and more that we're talking about a mix of online communication and a mix of in-person communication. And we think that the ribbon cutting of the water treatment plant is a really great opportunity to bring those stakeholders together, especially those funders, especially those legislators, right? Both thank them for the funding so far to get this project started, and then also talk about what the next needs are for that Hoyt Lakes integration piece. And so a lot of the materials that we're thinking about putting together right away would really support that event. Again, these are materials that could be repurposed at lots of other events in the future, but really making sure that they're ready for that ribbon cutting event. And those different materials would be things like the videos, the project posters, some one-pagers and table tents, things that can really help tell the story of Hoyt Lakes. And so those videos would be a way to engage folks to really tell kind of resident stories and their experience with water in town. Yeah.
So you're talking like the flipboards?
Yeah, actually, the table tent piece is something that we found really successful in other communities. And that's just like those triangle table tents that you might see at a coffee shop or at a table at a restaurant or a bar. Just places where people, some of the challenge of engaging residents, right, is just meeting them where they're at. And so we tend to find that things like the table tents and one-pagers can be really helpful when we just have them in community spaces. And those are really going to point people to the website. They're going to have a very high-level summary of what do I need to know, what's going to grab a resident's attention to get them interested in and informed about the project in a way that, maybe not everybody looks at the city's social media or is going to find the website on their own, right? So it's a way to get that message out more. And then I think at the ribbon cutting event, when you're talking about like those big flip charts and things, right, we would focus on some project posters. So these would be, 20 by 30 posters sitting on a tripod that would, again, really tell the story of why this Hoyt Lakes project in particular is important and needed, right? It would focus on a variety of different pieces of that story, some data pieces, some story pieces, right? And just what we're trying to do, how much funding is needed, right? Communicating those kind of pieces of information. Again, when we're at an event like that ribbon cutting, where we're bringing together those legislators and other folks that want to know those big highlight points, right? So that is, let's see, I want to make sure I don't miss anything on page 11. We would also envision, right, dependent on who all attends that ribbon cutting event, again, staying in touch with the city and the project and how those things are going. We would also build in here one extra in-person stakeholder event. Maybe it's an opportunity to invite people back to the water plant for another tour, or those that weren't able to make it. This one, I think, might actually happen later than fall 2026. It might happen in 2027 even. But we want that kind of multiple opportunities to gather folks dependent on how some of this is received and how funding applications go, right? And some of those things. So we want to have that flexibility built in to be ready for those type of events. A couple last things. So I'm at the top of page 12 now. So pop-up events, we find pop-ups to be really helpful, especially, again, when we're reaching those residents who are out and about where they might already be, right? So whether that's the library or at the water carnival or otherwise, right? These events we would love feedback on, right? If there's other events that pop up. But these pop-up events, we've built 3 into the proposal. And these we would bring, again, those one-pagers, the project posters. This is really just another way to connect and engage with residents about the project. The last idea on here that we've built into the scope is the water quality diorama. So a way to have some kind of physical, visual things about the water quality, water source, visual and live and in person in front of us, right? So we'd build a few different things that would come again around to us with in-person events. So whether that's the pop-ups or the ribbon cutting, those type of events to really help paint the picture and tell the story. So that's the general scope. Again, like Jake said, we would love feedback if there's initial reactions to this, things that you don't think would work well in the community or something that you think is missing. This is all scope that's built into the project itself. So there's no additional financial ask with any of this. We've built it all encompassing into that project, but wanted that opportunity for feedback from the council on these ideas and before we get started.
Yeah, I think it's smart to do like a shotgun approach to different, whether it be in person, at events, not at events, online. I think, yeah, there's lots of good, different variety of things here. Just making sure that people are kept informed, and then a big piece getting the funders, the legislatures to know why it's important. So this is, yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. That's all I've got. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Is there any other questions or comments for her before she hits the road? But then we have, I'm sure, your contact information, for sure Jake's. So then if we have ideas or things that pop up, questions in the future, we can get a hold of you guys.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want to reiterate too is at any point in time, when you guys are reviewing this plan, if something comes up, obviously this is a plan that's been developed over the next year, right? And we go down the journey of soliciting funds for the project and helping explain the rationale behind it. So getting in touch with us at any point in time, if you have an idea or would like to kind of modify or an additional pop-up or something, we're more than happy to have that conversation to help out any way we can. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think for next steps, the thing that we talked about earlier today is I think the immediate first step is to get that website built out and up and running, and then to start crafting the materials so that we can be ready for that summer ribbon cutting event. So we'll have some of those various activities that we talked about prepared for that, and there'll be opportunities for additional feedback on all of those materials as they're created.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving along with the Guests and Citizens Forum. Is there anybody else that wishes to say anything or any questions? Nothing. We will move right along to reports from city staff. City Administrator Weiberg.
Okay, mayors. So you guys approved the camera purchases last week or a couple meetings ago. They already started arriving. So the 4 boxes showed up yesterday, and some more down at the PD. So looking forward to that. The auditors are off-site now, and they're doing a different town. So we kind of a little bit of a reprieve right now as far as the information requests. Applications for the assistant clerk has closed. We got 6 qualified applications to review, so we'll be setting up interviews here shortly this week, hopefully. And we met with Senator Hofschild today. I'm sure you're going to expand on, and we reviewed all the projects, the big project coming up, and then Mayor took him down for a tour of the arena and the water treatment plant. He can talk about, and that's what I have.
All right, thank you. Moving along to Public Works Director Snetzinger.
Yeah, so for the last couple of weeks at Public Works, we've been with the obvious slow snow season. We've been taking that advantage of that time to do some remodeling in our office and lunchroom space down at the city garage. That building was built in '82, and some of the sheetrock is cracked and deteriorated, et cetera. So I've got a couple guys on my staff that are pretty handy with that. So we fixed all that, repainted, put up some new trim, et cetera. So we're getting all that back into shape, as well as the EMS building. The EMS building has these style 2x2 carpet tiles in the meeting room, and that building has flooded several times in the past. We hope that's now resolved with the rain gutters and drainage system we put around the building. But in the meantime, the adhesive for those tiles has slowly been letting loose. And there's about 500 tiles in that space, and I would say 70% of them are curling and letting loose. We've tried a few different adhesives trying to get them to go back down, not having much success. Spoke to another flooring contractor yesterday or the day before. They gave us one last ditch effort to try. If we're successful, we'll finish doing that and get them secured back down, because they look relatively nice. They just won't stick. But if they don't, I think we're going to have to strip the floor and go with new tiles, and then I'll be seeking bids on a new floor for that building. And that's all I got other than agenda items.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Moving along to City Attorney Lewicki.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't have any report this evening.
Sounds good. Thank you. Moving on to reports from elected officials. Councilor Grams.
Just a brief report from the chamber. We wrapped up our year-end accounting and tallying up all our donations, and it looks like we gave just over $86,000 out to the community. So that's between city projects, Mesabi School, whether it's booster clubs, sporting events, just different activities they have, and scholarships, and then also just some local East Range programming, Mesabi Fit and Cancer Society, Food Shelf, things like that. So that was our total for the year, 86,000. So yeah, it's good.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to the chamber for all their work. Councilor Jarbla.
All right, on the 3rd of the month, the technical committee for the new water system met here at City Hall. We talked about storage options. Scenario 4, if you recall, was the one we chose. Cost effective was the basic reason for that. It means maintaining the standpipe. They also covered the topographical survey for the water line coming from Aurora. The subsurface geological investigation's got to be done. We've got a review design scheduled. We were supposed to see plans by the end of January, maybe end of February here for that. I presume that's still in the works. And after the meeting, we were contacted by Jake from Bolton and Mink, referring the technical committee choice of scenario 4, which does keep that standpipe. They're concerned with the condition of the base of the standpipe. They had a recent underwater ROV review the inside of the tank. Everything turned out good. But because of sludge on the bottom of the, I shouldn't call it sludge, basically mud on the bottom of the tank, they couldn't review the tank bottom, and an inspection would provide info on the future lifespan of that standpipe, which would help in the decision as to whether keeping it or putting a new in-ground or above-ground storage tank for there. They would need to have the tank drained and cleaned, and to accomplish that interior inspection of the bottom would have to be hose clean. And they were asking us if an SOP exists for draining and cleaning the tank. I don't know if Ken knows if there's one out there.
We have not found one.
How long it would take. The fire department would have to be notified that the system was down, so that, they would be aware to call in mutual aid for water supply while that was being cleaned out. And they were wondering if there was a preferred timeline when it could be done. It would have to be done, of course, in the spring at or above 32 degrees. So that's one of the options. And apparently Dean and Jake discussed possibility of ultrasound. They're supposed to look into the cost of that, which can run expensive, but it'll get you an idea of what shape the bottom of that tank is in after all these years. So that's where we're at with the water system. That's all I got.
Sounds
Dave,
good.
that tank was inspected in 2019. At that time, there was 2 inches of silt on the bottom then as well. So I don't know when or if that bottom's ever been inspected. So I think it behooves you to not have it inspected at least every 25 years.
Yeah, well, it'll determine whether it's a
Yeah.
keeper or not.
Yeah, thanks for the update there. Counselor Ekman?
Counselor Jarvela and I just came back from the PD meeting. Sorry. And they were talking about, I missed the meeting last week, but they're talking about merging with Babbitt. So there's kind of talks about that. There's a proposal, I guess. I missed that meeting, so not real sure where we are with that. But that's about it.
Sounds
Just to add to that, Babbitt was here, we discussed the different options, and the last decision made was they were supposed to go back. Apparently, the community fire chief, or police chief, I mean, told me wasn't interested, but they were supposed to go back and meet with the Unity City Council, and they are on the agenda. Did Jordan say it was tonight possibly?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
They are on the agenda to meet with council to determine whether or not they want to combine the two police departments rather than hook up with East Range, which is 40 miles away from
all right. Yeah, we'll wait for further discussions and updates from you folks to see where that goes. Counselor Matheson isn't here tonight, so update from me. Nothing major. Like City Administrator Weiberg had mentioned, Senator Hochschild came and visited today. Dean and I had provided him with some city updates and talked about kind of past, current, and future projects that are coming up. For those who might know or not know, he'd helped secure some funding for us to complete the arena project. So we took him down there. Bucky gave us a little tour just to show kind of what was done with the updates recently. Then we took him over to the water treatment plant. Josh gave us a tour over there and then talked with him about our next big project, which is hooking up with Aurora and the town of Hoyt in that East Range water project. And then just talked with him about the importance of getting support from him and then the legislature, because that's important for securing funding and being able to get that project done. So thank you to him for visiting and all of his help with the things he's helped with so far. And then thanks to Bucky, Josh, and Dean for helping with tours and providing updates. So no, you saw our old one. I figured it would be nice to see how kind of old and kind of decrepit it is. It's getting the job done now, but in the years coming, obviously, it's kind of getting older, so we need to make sure we get this project funded and completed. So yeah, that was really the only big update from me. So we will move on to old business, starting with 10.1, the 2026 golf course agreement. We've reviewed it at the past few meetings, provided input to Dean on that, provided suggestions on changes and things like that. So he made those changes. Anything you want to add to the stuff you've added or whatever, Dean?
I expanded number 12 back out as requested by the mayor, and Dan provided a list of who owns what inside the clubhouse. Bucky and Wade went through it and said it was accurate. So probably at some point I'll reformalize this and type it up in a little nicer format and attach it to the clubhouse agreement if you guys, and I did change it back to a 1-year term. So it should be accurate as far as the changes you recommended.
Reading through this most updated one, I thought it looked good. Does anybody on the council have anything to add? Any changes they would recommend or questions or anything?
Oh, just on the equipment list I see attached, it says Dan Darbo and Jenna. I mean, are they doing, is that just because he bought equipment when he ran it? They're not doing it together, are they? Like the lease is just with Jenna? Not
Right.
a
lease is
co or
with
joint
Jenna,
lease?
but-
Okay, I just wanted to make
I
sure.
think Jenna owns some of her own stuff, and I'm not 100% up to speed on that, but that's why I had Wade look at it, or Bucky look at it.
Okay.
And then in talking with Bucky too, Dan's still going to be out there helping Jenna like he did last year. So, yeah, Jenna's the only one on kind of this agreement, but
Oh, okay.
I think informally he's going to be helping her out up there.
So she's the only formal lessee then?
Right. Yep. So like last year, she was the only formal. Let's see. Anything on your end, Joel, with this kind of hopefully final
Nope,
revision?
looks good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the 2026 clubhouse agreement.
Make that motion.
Motion from Councillor Grams. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councillor Ekman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 10.2, Verizon land lease agreement. Again, we've looked through this before. It's been a while since we've looked at it. What was the final thing that we had?
The dollar amount.
Yeah.
So we countered back from their initial offer, $500 a month, the 860 or 850, and they accepted that offer. So, and it's built in here now. So the city would get $10,200 annually with a 2% increase annually for the next 5 years of the contract. So,
To
and
be renegotiated then?
yeah. So they met your number, and they actually had an environmental guy out here last week, took a site survey, and obviously this isn't agreed upon yet, but they took a look around, and as everybody knows, this top, oh, maybe they don't know. So this is a Verizon cell tower that's going to get installed, if approved, up near the existing tower that's outside of town here, the AT&T tower. So. And I didn't see anything different in there unless Joel, something jumped out at Joel there that he wants to question.
Yeah, Joel.
I don't have anything further on the agreement itself. I think it looks good. There's a few titling things in there that I think we need to be aware of for the future. There's no mortgage on this property right now. There's some language in there that addresses that. I'm okay with that language as it applies to this deal. I just wouldn't want it to be applied to any future ones that might have an issue on it. There's some other things too that I looked at. It looks good from my perspective.
Okay. Sounds good. It's important. We got the people with the big brains reading through this. I read through it. I don't have much of a legal sense with things. But from just my lay person reading of it, I think it looked good. So as long as Joel thinks it looks good, that's the most important thing. And then this would go, like Dean had said, next to the existing tower. We talked about this already. Didn't see anything that with the one that's already there, any sort of like
I did not see anything.
saying that there can't be another tower or whatever. So, any other comments or questions regarding this land lease agreement? Yeah, I'm happy to hear that they were bumped up the dollar amount, and then we'll be getting $10,000 extra dollars each year, more than, or it'll be going up, right?
2%
2% every year.
annually.
Yeah.
And that's the current agreement we have with the other cell tower as well. Or tower.
Where does that money go? What fund is it into?
It's just, right now, it just lives in it gets, as franchise fees, as income, it gets requires income, but then it's just in the general fund.
And that'll start this year as soon as we sign the agreement? And do they prorate?
To confirm that. I would think so, but
If we don't sign
They're
until
taking
March,
possession
does
of
it
the land.
prorate that
yeah,
annual fee?
because in theory, this has nothing to do with the power, but it technically does with
Land.
the land lease agreement, so it should be coming in fairly soon.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the Verizon land lease agreement.
So moved.
Motion from Counselor Jarvela. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Counselor Grams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to the final piece of old business, 10.3 Bolton and Mink, construction manager at risk. Jake, do you mind coming to the podium and just kind of speaking to this? We talked about this a while ago already, but it'd be good to just get a refresher on kind of what it is, and then recommendations on it. And then,
Absolutely, Mayor. So last time we had talked about the construction manager at risk contract was probably late last year. And to kind of bring everybody up to speed is we've had some further discussions in the technical committee, talk about bringing on a construction manager partner through a construction manager at risk process to effectively leverage their ability to do some cost modeling and look at getting a construction manager on board with the project, help with some of the funding approaches, and really dial in a cost long-term that we can leverage as this goes through several funding cycles, and this project will, as it's seeking funding, is likely going to go on for a couple of years. So that's the stage that we're at right now, is with the design plans being roughly at 60%, as that will be submitted in the next week or so. Bringing a construction manager on in the next month or so will allow them to, or starting the process, let me say it this way, over the next month and to 2 months, would allow them to get into the plans as well, complete some of that value engineering that's valuable as part of that contract, and then start estimating some of the current project layout and designs. And then if we need to tailor that, they can help with some of those cost reduction measures. We can talk with them about the foundation system. Is this better versus this sort of setup? Those sort of conversations can start to be had. So I think where we're at is the conversation with the technical committee is revisiting this conversation and seeing if the council is maybe eager or interested in moving that process forward. And what that process looks like is we would start to solicit and develop documentation for bidding to entities, professions that are construction manager based, and then conducting interviews with the city. So we can lay out that format with the city, work with you guys on developing those documents, and then start to solicit bids from construction managers, conduct those interviews, and work through that process. It takes about a couple of months, month to 2 months to get a construction manager on board by the time you complete the interviews and conduct everything else. So.
And then, coming out of that technical meeting, it was the recommendation of them to go with this construction manager. And that would be Utility Director Benda, myself, Councilor Jarvela, Dean, and then a couple of folks from Bolton and Mink. So any comments, anything to add to that, Dave or Dean?
I think the grand scope of this project is significantly large enough that this position will end up saving money on the back end if you get them on board soon enough. And overall, in the $23 million, $26 million project, this is kind of insignificant dollar amount. And
Rolling
the value it's going to bring.
Rolling into it at this point in time, are the chances pretty good that we'll get Magni, who the current contractor for the water treatment plant is?
So as the process weighs out is how the full process works is you're interviewing these CMARs. We would hope that Magni and other groups that have had interaction with this project would provide a proposal. And at that point, you can interview them and conduct that requirement basically that meets the state and federal bid laws. So that is something that would be advantageous to talk with them about. So
At least they're familiar with the project. You start off with somebody new and
correct.
that can present problems along the way.
Any other comments or questions for Jake?
What was your ballpark estimate of the cost?
So what we're seeing a lot
Just
for
ballpark.
water treatment plants on general, they're pre-construction services. And again, those pre-construction services are when they come on board and help with some of the bidding, reviewing of the design phase. Those range anywhere from like 15 to we've seen them about $50,000. That's a piece that we can include in the interviews to understand too. So at the end of this, if you go through the interview process and you decide you do not want to bid a construction manager, you're not locked in. Those pre-construction services sometimes are paid at the start of the contract too. So that could be a cost that could be deferred long-term here until the project starts. So there's some flexibility in how we write the contract. And again, to be honest, when in the water wastewater world, these contractors like to get involved early on because that helps with mitigating their risk, mitigating the city's risk. So there's initiative for them to come in that pre-construction phase. And that's why they set that fee pretty low. So.
Yeah, just in our discussions, it makes a lot of sense to move ahead with this. But is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve moving ahead with looking at the use of a construction manager at risk for the project. A motion from Councillor Jarvila. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councillor Ekman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving to new business, 11.1, Resolution 2026-005 for support of the Civilian Conservation Corps Regional Trailhead Pavilion Project. We have some folks from the Ranger Snowmobile ATV Club to speak to that.
Would you like to speak to it, or please? Yeah, come up to the mic. So
Yeah.
you're the closest to the project.
Jim Beauregard with the Rangers ATV Snowmobile Club, and you're familiar with this project. I think Al's been here and talked about that, and we received some letters of support from you. We're moving into that sort of second phase for us, and that is how do we get this project sort of rolling and on the ground, and some things happening out there with that restoration project. Well, when we started kind of expanding and meeting with Al's group and others around the area here, what we discovered was there's that restoration part of this project, which is great, and you know a lot about that already. But there's another component to that, and that is the bike trail is coming into Hoyt Lakes this year, so we're pretty excited about that. And we're looking for trailhead for the bicycle trail. The same is happening with the ATV Snowmobile Club. So we're trying to put these three entities together along with the Rahala Wood Foundation to make this thing happen as a combined project. The other thing that's most advantageous for this is also the scenic byway, the Superior National Forest Scenic Byway. So with all those motorized, non-motorized, Superior National Forest thing happening here, and then the historic civilian part of this thing, we think we're aligned pretty well with applying for a federal granting dollars for the Federal Trails Task Force project, which is administered by the state of Minnesota, the DNR. The federal government gives them so much money, and they look at different projects which can be funded. And so our goal, of course, is to raise some dollars to make that project happen out there. And part of that is to partner up with governmental agencies to be our fiscal agent and lead the project on the application. And so that's why we're here tonight. We're looking to partner up with the city, Rahala Woods, and the Snowmobile Club. You have to have an organization, a trail organization, to be your partner on that application. So that's where we're at. We're asking the city to do an official resolution, which will list them as the applicant and the fiscal agent. And I know the city's been involved in a lot of other things with the Ranger Club, for example, in government granting and things like that. This is sort of no different than what past practices would be. The other part of that resolution talks about long-term care of that facility. And the city would have to be a partner in that regard also. In as much as the city is taking care of that now, they're taking care of the restroom facility that's out there. So we would ask them to continue to do that, mow the lawn. And the other exception that I would make the city council aware is, we've had some difficulty in that area. And for security and safety purposes, we're looking at probably putting at least 2 parking lot lights out there. So there would be an expense for that going forward, and it can be, something that the city council needs to be aware of. So that's where we're at tonight, and I'm here to answer any questions about us moving ahead. We need to put that application in by the 27th of this month. They open it up, like a week and a half ago, and it closes on the 27th. So we're putting that application together right now. We're working with the engineering firm that Bolton Mink, that's already out there for some final details. We don't have to have exact numbers on those things for our application, but we're working through that and we'll have those. It's a matching dollar funding out there. So we're asking for the maximum that is allowed by this particular grant, which is $200,000. And there's a 25% match. We have been working off to the side to make that match happen with some cash donations and in-kind services. We have already got a number of places that have committed cash to this project and in-kind donations. So we don't anticipate that we are going to have any problem by the 27th matching those dollars for this. In fact, I know we're not. We already have those in place already. And that can be in-kind services, which I know that we're asking the city to help us out someplace down the road with a load of gravel or a dump truck or something like that as in-kind services. I know you've done that in the past for other services. And so that's where we're at. That's a quick thing, and I don't know if you got a little blurb in your packet about what this project is, so you've probably had a chance to read a little bit about it, but I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about what our goal is for this thing. And
So at the cost of $200,000, your 25% will be $50,000.
yeah,
You're not asking the city for a donation for that matching fund?
not cash donation.
Okay.
In-kind services,
And
like
I
mowing
get
and
that part,
plowing.
but
Yes.
I mean, I
Well,
don't,
unless you want to give money, I mean,
No.
I wouldn't deny it.
it's a little tight right now.
Yeah, no, I understand it. And that's why we've been out banging on doors, trying to get that cash plus in-kind donation to make those match for whatever our final asking price is on the application, whether it's, it'll be more than 200,000 but we're confident we have that matching dollars in place.
Okay. I guess looking at it, your ask about 1 or 2 streetlights with everything we've got in town, I don't think that'd be overboard, but that the match was just kind of sitting in the back of my head.
Sure.
But if you've got the money,
And as the project goes, I mean, like every grant, you put an application in, you may not get it. It doesn't mean that we're not sort of stopping or ending that project. It may look different if, in June, they decide we're not going to be receiving money. We're looking at other places to make applications through granting dollars and our private fundraising, et cetera. So I want you to know that restoration project is going to go ahead in some level, in some form as we go through. Obviously, we're looking to find as many dollars as we can to match and make that project all happen more quickly than it would otherwise. So,
yeah, they cut the logs down or the trees down.
yeah, and we have places that, if we do a correct restoration, there are certain logs that have to go on there, all those types of things. We already have a lot of that commitment in place, and that's dollars that we can use for the match. So that's a good example out there. We have construction companies that have already pledged to this project to come in and lift the logs and do those types of things at a certain dollar level. And we have received already some matching dollars in cash. You talked about the chamber earlier. They were kind enough to begin and give us a match, and some others have also. So that's where we're at with this thing. I want to take up a lot of your time, but if you have questions, I'm here to answer them and hope that the resolution can go forward tonight and we can attach it to the application.
I do have one question. So what you said now, that maybe I was a little unclear last week, but this 25% city commitment or commitment of matching funds, that'll be reduced as you do your fundraising?
The city's commitment? No, if you pledge
City
10,
commitment's going to be 25% regardless?
yes,
Okay.
the project's commitment will be 25%. Yeah. Specifically the city.
It's not the city commitment, it's the project.
The project's commitment.
Project,
yeah.
The city's commitment might
So
be.
as you get more fundraisers done, our commitment will go down?
No, I think that's confusing. The
Yeah.
overall project commitment is 25%. So if our project comes in at $280,000
Oh,
or whatever,
yeah.
that commitment is the next 25% of that. But the city's commitment to throw in $10,000, for example, of some in-kind services is part of that total commitment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's what I'd asked him. He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
they're not asking the city for direct cash at all.
No, it's in-kind service.
No.
I did read the grant application and information, so just to confirm it was in-kind services, because it doesn't really say that here.
And if we're the fiscal agent, Dean, on your end, do you feel like you're able to take that on to?
Yeah, this is a good time of year to do it once we get the audit behind us. And they're doing all the legwork. I'm going to sign my name on their documents, really. And they're going to do this. They're going to submit it on behalf of the city of Hoyt Lakes.
And we've been.
And then I'll be
fiscal-
doing the fiscal just like I do for the Snowmobile Club. So.
Right. So
Correct.
we've already been
Yeah.
doing it and working with you
Yeah.
folks in that way already.
It works the
It's
same as the other grantees
Yeah.
that the city has been the fiscal agent on for the club, so.
Right. No, I think this is a great project. In any way we can help secure funds to get it done, I'm definitely in support of it. So yeah, thanks for you guys for doing the hard work of getting it done and doing everything.
Thank you.
Anything on your end, Kenny? Are your guys able to? continue
No,
to help?
I was just going to add, we've worked hand in hand with the Snowmobile Club on a lot of other projects where in-kind services were needed for grants, and it's always been, good. I'm excited about this project, glad to help. So anything we can do.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-005, supporting the CCC Regional Trailhead Pavilion Project.
I'll make that motion. I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion from Councillor Jarvis, second from Councillor Grams. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.23. No, 2. 11.2, Resolution 2026-004, authorizing an investment account with Pershing LLC. So Dean had talked about this last council meeting, I believe.
Yes.
Anything to add to that, Dean? Or just like
not
a-
necessarily. You approved the draft, and now that you approved the draft, we put it into our City of Hoyt Lakes format. So if you approve it, then we'll sign it and send it on its way, and we'll have another option for investments.
Any other comments or questions? I think we got all the questions and comments out of the way last time when we talked about it. Is there anybody that has anything?
Got to do a roll call on this one.
So I'll ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-004.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Councillor Ekman. Is there a second? Second from Councillor Jarvala. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.3, 212 Suffolk write-off request. We've gotten these over the years a fair amount of times. Anything to add to this, Dean?
No, I do not have anything to add to that. I think most people are familiar with this property.
Yeah, so tax forfeited, went to the state. There's a balance that's not able to be collected and can't be assessed to the property. So we just have to write these off. And that's kind of what our practice has been over the past few years. So
He's still alive.
He is?
Yes.
Where is he?
It's just been tax forfeited, so he doesn't own it anymore.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying? I see the last payment was in August of 23. So at the end of 23, 24, or 25, did we ever assess this to their property tax roll? Since it hasn't been paid since 23.
I'm assuming it did, but I haven't. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I assume we would have over the last 3 years. Tried to put it on, but now that it's not his property anymore.
because that's usually what we've done when we got to the end of the year. We've just assessed
Yeah.
their
Mhm.
taxes. So I guess I don't know for sure, but I'm
I
assuming
think I remember seeing them on the list this year,
you did remember.
but it's tax forfeited, so what do you know?
Right.
And a large portion of this bill is penalties.
Mhm.
So when I first looked at the bottom, I thought, God, that's a huge amount of money. But in reality, it's around $1,500 or $1,600 of services that he really owes us for. The rest is just penalties that were added on over the years. So it's not as big as it looks as a write-off either.
And that 10% penalty compounded monthly, it adds up very fast
Very
once you
quickly,
get
yeah.
up over $600,
Yeah.
which is something that maybe should be looked at in the future.
Is there anything that can be done in the future on these where they can be turned to because it's not yet at that point, when it started, it wasn't at the point where it was added to his taxes. But is there some point it can be put into collections to try to at least get some of that back? To see it, like Sherry says, that if you figure the penalties in, it's not that big of a thing because they are taking up the biggest, but to be able to get some of that money back from the people that actually owed it to the city for the use of that service.
And I think that's what we do when we assess it to their taxes.
Yeah,
That's
but I'm
how we
saying,
try to get it, and then they just never pay their taxes. So
yeah, they don't pay the
Not
taxes, and then it goes on the back taxes, and then bingo.
Joel, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it would be an election of remedies is one or the other. I think the advice for the city and my recommendation would to assess it to the taxes as we're doing.
So that's the only avenue we got, really.
No, you could try to collect it the other way, but then you couldn't assess it as well. You're doing
So if
one
we
or the
put it
other.
in collections, and it didn't succeed.
Yeah, you're selling that right to collect to a collection agency, and then you're going to collect a portion of that because they're going to get paid out of the revenue of that.
Yeah.
Our opportunity as a city is we can assess that onto the tax roll when it sells, then that gets satisfied. That I would continue doing it the way we're doing.
Okay.
and even if we want a judgment in collections, that's not saying you're ever going to get the money. You might win, but you might never
Yeah.
get
It
paid.
would be highly unlikely that you would.
Yeah.
So I think we've done that with the trash rate thing, right? Where it went to collections. If I remember right.
We did something, yeah.
Yeah.
We wrote that up too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we even then we sent
Yeah.
it to collections. We ended up writing it off anyways. So, yeah, stinks. But any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to write off the balance.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion from Councillor Grams. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councillor Ekman. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.4, liquor license transfer to the arena for the men's no check tournament. Do this every year. Not really much to add, but anything to add from you, Dean?
No, I don't have anything to add. Common.
All right. Any other comments or questions from anybody? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the J-Way LLC liquor license transfer to the arena for the 3-6 to 3-8 men's no check tournament. Motion from Councillor Jarvila. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councillor Grams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. And then finally, moving on to 11.5, letter of support for MN 169 and MN 1 Y Store intersection reconstruction. Anything to add to this, Dean?
No, I just received this late, so I slipped it in the packet because I know they want it back fairly soon. It's at the Y Store 169 and on your way to Fortune Bay. So I know they've had some pretty bad accidents there over the years. So it's the same letter of support basically for the bridge going over Aurora, but I don't know if this is going to be a roundabout or what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think sounds like it is.
Roundabout.
Yep. So yeah, like Dean had mentioned, it's like the bridge in Aurora. The resolution or the letter of support really is less us approving or denying the project. It's with us providing the letter of support. It just helps the county and those folks obtain funding to get that project done. Any comments or questions regarding the letter of support?
I know myself included, lots of locals head up that way, so I'd love a safe route to Fortune Bay. So.
Right. Yeah, anything to make residents safer when they head up that way, and then anybody else that drives through that area, because they've had some pretty bad accidents up there, and if they can make it a little bit safer, then I would definitely be in support of that. But, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the letter of support for MN 169 and MN 1 Ysore intersection reconstruction.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Councillor Ekman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councillor Grams. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Councillor Jarvila abstains. Motion carried. So that was it for things on the agenda. So we'll move on to adjournment. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Councillor
Second.
Grams, second from Councillor Jarvila. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you.